Hey everyone, welcome to Brett Builds, where my name is Brett Bohannon, and we are going to walk through how to utilize AI in your business when selling on Amazon. So, whether you're an agency, you are a brand, or you are an Amazon seller, this video and all the videos in the YouTube channel will help you, um, become more AI forward and AI native in all the tasks that you do. So, in this particular episode, we are going to work on the foundations and kind of go over what an agent is. What you will learn is just that, what an agent is, what makes it different from a normal chat, and the simplest way to start. So, right now, I'm just going to define what an agent is. And a simple formula is an agent equals a model plus instructions plus context plus tools plus workflow plus feedback. Okay, now that we've defined what an agent is, I'm going to go over some quick definitions in regards to what that agent looks like and all the pieces together. So, an AI model is something like the frontier models. So, OpenAI, Anthropic, and all the models within those umbrellas. For Anthropic, it's Opus 4.6, Opus 5, etc. Fable 5. OpenAI, you're looking at 5.6 Soul, Terra, medium, high, extra high, all that good stuff. So those are the models, and they're the reasoning engine that interprets information and generates a response. Um, an AI assistant is a model that you interact with conversely, where you usually guide each step. So an AI assistant is different from an AI agent. An AI agent is a model given a job, instructions, context, tools, and a process so it can work towards a result, not merely answer one prompt. So, an AI assistant, you guide it. An AI agent, it's more autonomous and it's working with all those pieces together to get to a outcome. Now, within that, instructions. So the instructions can vary in name, so it can be like a skill, things like that. It's an agent's rules, boundaries, and definition of a good result. So essentially, it's a skill. Context is the facts the agents need about the business, history, goals, and current situations. So in the Amazon space, what that could look like is target ACOS, target tacos, seasonality for different products, things of that nature. So it's the context of the business. A tool is a capability the agent can use to retrieve information or perform a specific action. What that can look like in the Amazon space is, MCP or API access for different tools. So for data, it could be mix shift, intent-wise, KPOC, that use the SP API and SP ads to bring in the data, and then you can leverage that. So it could also be Data Dive, Helium 10, Jungle Scout. If you're looking for competitor things and things of that nature to use within your workflow, Keepa. So it could be all those kinds of different things. Those are a tool. The workflow is a repeatable sequence that the agent follows to complete a job. So a workflow is going to be something that maybe it's something that you do currently and that you can incorporate AI into. I'll go into this a little bit deeper shortly. Feedback loop, the process for checking the results, correcting mistakes, and improving future runs. So you can do this with your agent. You can do a regression test with your agent, but this can also be like, hey, what tools did this call? Did it do this thing correctly? So that's a feedback loop. And as we get into this, we're going to talk about a couple other definitions, but I'll just tell them to you right now. So the other definitions are a single agent. It's a one agent responsible for one clearly defined job. And then it goes up from there to a multi-agent system. So it's several specialized agents that divide the work and pass results between them. So a single agent could look like something, you're just using a chat within Codex or Claude Cowork, and it has your, all the context and instructions and whatnot, and it's on a scheduled run. That's a single agent. A multi-agent system could have specialized agents, so you can spin off specialized agents as well within Codex and Claude Code. You can also do it in platforms such as Buzz, Grokbot, and things of that nature. So what that looks like is that those multi-agent systems, you can have an agent on the top that handles all those ones below, but you have specific agents for specific things. So let's just say you have an agent for your catalog, you have an agent for your advertising, you have an agent for your creative, you have an agent for your SEO. So they can all kind of talk together. Have an agent for your advertising. So basically, if you're trying to triage something, or if you want to create something and create a campaign, you can use all those agents together and they can get to an outcome. Now, that leads into an agent workforce. It's like a coordinated group of agents with persistent roles, shared operating rules, handoffs, and human oversight. So once you get into the multi-agent system and then get into the workforce, you're going to have a slew of agents that are all working together to achieve a goal. So for instance, I'll give you a quick example of what I've did recently was I needed to launch some new campaigns from existing campaigns, or I needed to rewrite some listings and things like that. So I had a slew of agents come together, work together and go, okay, these are the terms that we want to go after. I gave it some human oversight and this is what it came up with. And I was able to create those campaigns. Or, hey, we need to adjust our listing with the new titles and bullet points more for Cosmos, Rufus, Alexa shopping. And so we were like, okay, this is where we're currently ranked. This is where we're missing. How can we rewrite these and the boundaries and all that good stuff? So that's how an agent workforce works together. To really put a pin in this, and then I'll go into some examples here shortly, is an agent is an AI model that has been given a job, the information and tools needed to do it, and a repeatable way to work and a way to judge the result. Now that last part, the judge the result, I think it's pretty necessary. And it kind of talks about if you're using agents, I'm a firm believer you shouldn't just let them sit and keep doing the job. If models, increase or change, let's just say the new model rolls out, maybe you want to, and that old agent was running on, let's just say Opus 5 in Claude. If Opus 5.1 comes out and it's a little bit different, you want to do a test on that agent and say, hey, side-by-side comparison, different models that came out, did anything happen wrong? And then you can kind of do a regression test on that agent, figure out how to make that agent go further. So again, we're going to talk a little bit further in that in another episode, but I'll jump into some examples of AI agents now. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to jump into what it would look like if I just was like, hey, I want to, track, I want to track an ASIN and the title changes if we were just chatting with it. So I'm going to literally pop this into Cowork. It might pull up I probably have to tell it to not use memory and not to call on any context, because I do have some context loaded into Claude. So what I'll do is let's start afresh. Here, let's use voice. Hey, let's start a fresh chat. Do not use any memory or context with any brands that I currently have. I want to see how this agent can perform a task without any specific instructions or context. So you are an agent and I want to schedule a listing monitoring for an ASIN on Amazon. This can be an arbitrary ASIN, and I want it to set up so every day, at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, it checks on this ASIN to see if the title changed. Can you do that? Let's see what it says. Again, no context, no nothing. Setting up an agent, and let's see if it can produce anything. Okay, so it pulled in two of the tools to make it happen that I have, Keepa and Helm. I guess I wasn't clear enough to not pull in the tools. Um, so we're kind of jumping into the next thing of, hey, what it would look like if it did it to, this is exactly what you would need to do, um, a full agent run, sort of say. So a little jumping ahead, but that's okay. It's scheduling the task right now. It's doing all the things. Let's see what it comes out with. Yeah, it's pulling the listing monitoring from Helm. Change count. It's giving some instructions and details. So it's setting it up. Don't know if this is an actual ASIN. It looks like it might be. But we're setting it up. So if you didn't have this or this and didn't have the instructions, it probably wouldn't be able to set it up. It would have just been like, hey, I need this in order to set it up. But we're jumping ahead and we're saying, okay, cool. Here's some connectors, some tools. Echo dot, here it is. Set it up. Now what we have is we have a Keepa agent, listing monitoring agent, that allows us to look at this listing and see if it changed, if anything changed on it. The title, I think we just said specifically title. But this allows us to go in and create a baseline, and it pulls in the information from Keepa. First day it will have this was the title, and the second day it runs, it will say nope, no title changes. Third day, etc. Now if a title does change, it allows us to tell us. So again, it pulled in the context, the connectors, the tools in this instance, and created it. So that's a first agent right there. That is something that you can do. Okay, so now we have that agent set up. That's an agent. It's a reoccurring task. It has tools. It's probably missing some context. So you can actually, what you can do is say, hey, I want to provide some context. So let's record something. Okay, awesome. Thank you for setting this up. Look forward to having this agent running. I wanted to provide some context on that. The biggest thing is that if anything changes in the title, we need to make sure that we are aware of that. Also, the titles should not change. We have full contribution of that listing. And if they do change, we need to be notified right away. Thank you. Okay, so that's a little bit extra context. So that agent is running off of a little bit more now. So instead of just like, yep, here's your scheduled thing, it's saying, hey, the biggest thing is if anything changes in that title, we need to know because we have full contribution. We don't want it to change. So now it's going to say, okay, great. I will give you a ping and it will say this and this and this. So let's see what it says. Came back right away once the day checks don't quite line up. 3 p.m. means a change made at 3:05 sits unnoticed for 24 hours. How fast do you want detection? So we can set it up hourly checks twice a day, or we'll just, for this instance, we're just going to leave it at 3 p.m. On a listing you fully controlled, an unapproved title change usually has a cause. A rogue contributor emerged, hijacked ASIN, or an Amazon auto correction. Want the monitor to capture that alongside the title. Yes, we want to add some more context to it. So we're just kind of making this agent smarter. So it started as a, hey, I want to track this listing to, okay, now we're going to have some context around if something changes. So I think that's important to look at, is that you can leverage these models as you're building out these agents to help you define what you might need. Now, this was a very basic example, but if you provided some more context, it will put it into the instructions. Here we go. Report title unchanged, normal case, exactly one line, boom. Title change, boom, check failed. So now we're updating that agent to have a little bit more context around everything that is happening here. So that's a great first step. So if you were saying this example was a listing monitoring, agent, another example could be anything that you currently do with Amazon. So if it's like advertising, you can set up an advertising agent that checks every day with whatever tool that you use, as long as you can connect it within, you know, Claude or Codex or whatever you might use. It can pull that data at a certain time and check it. Now, I think the biggest constraint with people is they think it's done there. It's not, and you can improve that agent over time by doing these regression tests, but also just asking it to, hey, what else am I missing here? Should I be tracking anything else, or should I have this be doing anything else? So, for example, what I just did here is like, hey, we want to make sure that this title doesn't change, and this is why. So now it's going to set us, alert behavior from that. So the biggest thing here is that you pick one recurring task that you or someone on your team might do. And for this instance, it was checking a listing, making sure nothing breaks. If you're using the Keepa tool, there's plenty of other fields within that. I just use title as an example, but you can do buy box. You can do bullet points, images. You can track your BSR. So if any large BSR fluctuations happen, you can be notified of that. You can do this, daily, hourly, just depends on your Keepa API token access. So just keep that in mind as well. But next, I'm going to go into an example of what I'm doing that takes this a little bit further, and I'll show you how I'm using, agents in my business. All right, I'm going to jump into Buzz and talk about the progression that I had with agents. Let's see if I can move this thing real quick. All right, so Buzz came out, Grokbot is out. There is, I think everyone's going to use these agent platforms the way that makes the most sense for them, if that makes sense. I'm severely against saying you have to do this or you have to do that, and Buzz might not work for you. Grokbot might work better for you. But here is the thing: when Buzz came out, I like where Block in general is going. Listen to a couple podcasts with Jack Dorsey and how he thinks about his business and AI as a whole. So when Buzz came out, it reminded me of the OpenClaw and agents that I was building within OpenClaw, which required a lot more technical capability, and I learned a ton during that time. But this still has that technical aspect, but it has the ability to humans to chat with agents and agents to chat with humans and agents to chat with agents within the space. So I jumped on it. It was one of those things I'm like, yep, Grokbot. On the flip side, Grokbot is out. I probably will start testing that with a few different things for different things, but right now, utilizing this for my Amazon business, I work with clients, and so utilizing this is a big one, and also for learning and things like that. So I'll just briefly go over. So Fizz, Honey, Pollen, these guys are automatic, agents that are in here. Fizz is the one I call on the most, but we're currently building out. Account Captain actually came about when Bird came out. So Bird is another. Let's put it here. Bird is another one. Still kind of using it. funky little guys, but I've created this little homepage. But Bird is another one, content creation, evaluations. This is my operator, um, sort of say, aspect of Helm. Helm is the internal tool that I use. So I'm working on Buzz and Bird, like kind of talking together because they're built by the same people. That's where I'm using the regression test for these ones. So Account Captain just came about based off of that. That takes part and works with Ad Specialist. This is my YouTube producer. Cortex Coach is me learning more about data engineering. So I got an ad specialist. I got two ad specialists. That's interesting. Have a listing catalog specialist, offer an inventory specialist, a data dive analysis for a client, and then another analysis for a client. So eventually what this is going to do is the account captain is going to talk with the ad specialist, the listing catalog specialist, the offer and inventory specialist, and and basically I'll show you an example here, and some things will have to be blurred out because they're clients. But let's go here. So this is what comes about from Fizz right now, and I think I did do a triage on one of these. Where'd it go? So where I pulled up the ads specialist, and this was like, okay, now I need to create the account specialist so the account specialist can move all these over to the specific agents. So I believe it was this one where I was like, okay, hey, we need to look into these. Again, some of this will be blurred out. But I was like, hey, this doesn't look right. And it wasn't right. So there was some information that was incorrect, and the agents caught it by talking to each other. So right here was, let's see where it was. Listing and catalog specialist was the main agent that pulled off of Fizz, and this was prior to my account specialist. So Fizz was running it. But what I did was, oh man, this is long, sorry. But this ran by itself. So I was like, hey, this doesn't look right. Let's see where we are. Okay, this is the main thing. I called the listing catalog specialist. I said, what's the next step? What should I do with the open ASINs? It gave me a rundown. And I go, can you check, I said ad specialist. Can you check the below? Ad specialist on blah, blah, blah. So the listing and catalog specialist was like, hey, the next baton right here is ad specialist on this ASIN. So confirm whether the delivery was a deliberate ACOS kind of action, because it got a signal that said, hey, your delivery was cut for this ads. And to be quite honest, this product was not even advertising for it. So I said, hey, can you check that out? And then the ad specialist was like, hey, that never happened. So I was like, okay, here's all the different things that it pulled from. And then it gave me all the information on that. Again, some of this is going to be blocked out because it is sensitive data. But what I did was I was like, hey, Fizz, like, looks like there's some false positives going on. Can you make sure that doesn't happen again? So I called the ad specialist. So basically what I'm doing is I'm talking to a team. So normally what you would do is you'd be like, hey, like, what's going on here? Like, I'm up here and like, hey, this doesn't look right. Can you check on this? The ad specialist goes in, checks. Oh man, that isn't right. That's crazy. Now then I'm like, okay, cool. Well, the catalog specialist, like, what else do I need to do? And then it keeps on going. So they're all talking to each other. So this is basically a team of agents that's working with each other to triage an issue that got addressed through a finding. So signal here, signal there, signal there. go off and find that signal, find out if it's accurate, and then, triage it and say, hey, these are the best next steps that we need to do. Or, hey, this is what we should do. And, do you have any input? And I go, yeah, actually, don't do this or do that, do this, and then push it live. So it went back and forth. It was just talking to the listing catalog specialist, ended up talking to the ad specialist. And then they went back and forth for a long period of time. I mean, there's like 36 messages in here. They were just going back and forth, back and forth. Here's what I found. Here it is, kind of deal. And then I came in and was like, Fizz came in, did a PR on it because it's my internal system on GitHub. And so something was broken with it. And, they found it, did a pull request. I merged it and, going forward, it didn't have that issue anymore. But you can see they were just chatting with each other. Finally came about. It's like, all right, cool. Is it all fixed? I go, lots was done. Can you summarize it for me? I've not been able to look at it all. So literally I think it was like 30 something messages. So here's what it found. Helm clears proof this ASIN had 0 ad spend in 2026. Yet its case inherited $1,000 of spend and clicks. 2 other ASINs received the same bit identical block, which even manufactured a false supported high diagnosis. Recent reporting windows were not allowed. They required 2-day settlement lag. So what it fixed is rejects cross ASIN performance rows instead of borrowing the first result. So there was an actual issue in the reporting. So it was able to find problems. It fixed it. And yeah. So that is a pretty solid example of the natural progression. All right, so now that I've given you the definition of an agent, showcased a very simple example, although it only showed what an agent can do, it didn't show you what basically a chat can do. But anyways, that's the whole point of this, unscripted, unfiltered. The biggest thing here, and I'll go through this again real quick. So biggest takeaway is what an agent is and how you can use an agent. And the simplest way to start using an agent. And really the simplest way to start using an agent is within Claude or ChatGPT within their work setting, where you can schedule something to be done. Now, don't forget that it's best to use instructions, context, tools, an existing workflow, and if you want to, you can add feedback. That will set you up for your first agent setup. From there, you can start with one useful agent today by doing that. But once the job, evidence, and standards are all set for that single agent, it can become part of a total operating system. Now, I am creating my own operating system because I choose to do this solo. And when all this came about, I jumped on it because I realized, hey, I can have AI and agents work for me. And so the biggest thing is you can have these agents work for you, but you have to kind of keep educating them and keep making them better. So just like any other employee, you have, educational classes and they learn as they work. Now, if you just have these agents set and you just let them run, eventually down the road, they won't be the same as when you set them up. So making sure that they are tested and they get better and better is going to be a very beneficial thing to do. So with that, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope you learned something from it. Please reach out to me if you have any questions on this, whether in the comments in YouTube. If you found this useful and if you want to share it, please share it. That helps. Subscribe to the channel. Share it with anyone that might need to know how an agent works. Doesn't have to be specific to the Amazon space. but in my case, it is specific to the Amazon space. All right, guys, take care and talk to you soon.